I'm going to be sharing with you in this video how to leave behind the pain of the past and move forward towards your vision. Okay, because most people are not moving forward. They're carrying the baggage of who they used to be, and they're carrying the baggage of things that have already happened to them. And we believe that this is normal. Let's talk about in this video how to move forward and let go of the pain. Let's stop normalizing not enjoying our experience of life, and let's start normalizing being in peace, in joy, and harmony with what our heart actually wants to create. So if you're new to this channel, what I want you to do is I want you to hit that subscribe button. I want you to hit that notification bell, because I do actually post a new video every single day. Also, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, currently the only way to work with me is single sessions. So if you want to apply for a single session, hit the link that's in the description box of this video. It's also going to be in the comments of this video as well. Now, the first thing that I want to share with you in this video is a little bit of an unfortunate truth, but it is an observation that needs to be shared nonetheless, which is that most people recreate the same emotions of the past in the present. So there's something that happened to them, and they create that emotion in the present again and again and again. Maybe something happened, maybe something they're angry about, or like, oh my gosh, this situation happened to me like 15 years ago, and then they're feeling it in this present moment. And then they blame the outside world for making them feel that way. And what's interesting is that nobody's making you feel anyway. And I know that that sounds crazy, but when you take an objective viewpoint on what I've just shared, that really makes you start to think like, wait, maybe that's not so normal. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm not here to say there's anything wrong. I'm just saying that it doesn't have to be normal. And if it is, I'm here to replace that, to not make it normal, because I would much prefer to see something the opposite of that. Let's just start with that. So most people recreate those emotions of the past in the present and call that normal. And I'm here to tell you that doesn't have to be that way. Realize that actually it's always a choice to focus on your vision and notice, be honest with yourself when you're caught up in an emotional pattern that perhaps maybe even you're a little bit addicted to. Like, if we're honest with ourselves, we have all these addictions, right? In the external world, like food and like stuff like that, right? But honestly, the biggest addiction of all that I think most people are not talking about enough is actually the addiction to the emotional patterns of the past, because that's really the core of where all these external addictions are stemming from, right? Is an addiction to some emotional pattern that has already happened where you believe you have to create it again. And in my experience, all that's happening here, this is, because everything is consciousness, right? This is consciousness looping onto itself, believing that it has to create something it already experienced. The emotional body is telling it to stop focusing on that, yet we're persistent to do it anyways. Now realize that this whole thing that's happening here, this whole dynamic, can be completely overcome when you learn to move forward from something that doesn't actually feel good to you. Now, the common objection that people will share is like, oh, but what if I'm running away from something? In my experience, the best way to face something is to see it full on and move forward and not let it to define you. Like, imagine you have a fear. How do you overcome that fear? The way you overcome the fear is to see the fear and go take action towards what you want anyways, right? So that you can prove to yourself that that limitation is not actually true. And people believe that when they're on the other side of that limitation, they're going to feel really scared. No, oftentimes feeling really scared is the thing that stops you and puts you in your head of the past reality and stops you from taking action. When you learn to overcome your own programs and take action anyways, like cancel the program, snap yourself out of the haze, right? I have to coach myself all the time, right? That's what this journey really is, right? This journey is about learning I have to coach myself out of these programs and just take radical action towards my vision anyways. Because these programs are lying to me. I found that it's like, oh, I don't, it's like, I learned to distinguish between like an addictive emotional pattern where it's like, I don't feel like doing something, where I don't feel like doing something, or me moving towards that vision. And then on the other side of that thing that I believed I had to feel, it's gone. And I've done this again and again and again and again and again to the point where it's like, okay, I have clarity and conviction around the difference between me living an experience that has already happened and me energetically sensing when I'm moving towards something that my heart actually cares about. This is absolutely an amazing thing that I'm really honored to have become conscious of, because once you become conscious of this, I'm telling you, you're not going to be as confused in your life because you're going to know where you have to go, and you're going to be able to realize that certain things cause pain. And surprise, surprise, you can stop causing the pain. I'll never forget where I saw this, those like memes or whatever, or it's like one of those like those images, and it was like somebody went to the doctor. And it's going to sound kind of like silly, but I'm just going to share it anyways. Like the doctor, and the person was like, oh, when I move my neck or my arm in this way, I experience a lot of pain. Like, what should I do? The doctor said, stop doing that thing that's causing you pain. I know it's kind of silly, but it's like the thing is, we don't realize that if something causes us pain, just stop doing it. It's like, oh, if my arm hurts in this way, and then it causes me a lot of pain, what should I do about the situation? Just stop moving your arm in that way. Go focus on something else. And that sounds ridiculous, but it's like when you give somebody a simple alternative to how simple transformation can really be, a belief system, a way of seeing that completely goes against the familiar patterns, it can bring up a lot of triggers or contradicting patterns or something that's like, oh, I don't know, it's maybe even anger sometimes, right? Depending on the kind of person that we're dealing with. But I'm telling you that in my experience, it's very liberating to realize that I can choose to let go of what is causing me any sort of disharmony. That's fully a choice. Like, to take responsibility, no more blaming. Like, like you've probably been in situations like this where you're blaming somebody, but when you're blaming somebody, you're part of the problem, aren't you? Right? So how do you remove yourself out of that situation? You take responsibility for your emotions, you let people see you how they want to see you, and you go do whatever brings you peace and clarity anyways. And if your peace makes somebody uncomfortable, then that's not your responsibility. Now, am I saying that there's not times and place to communicate and to honor the people around you, and always to honor the people around you, and to communicate and to set clear boundaries and to set expectations and to define relationships and all these things? Of course, all these things are part of it. Now, of course, you can account for all these logical ways to deal with connecting with people, but at the same time, though, even with that being said, you can account for all these things. Still, at the end of the day, it's not your responsibility to deal with how other people perceive the actions that you take. The actions you take, that's your choice. How people perceive that, how they feel in their body, is totally their choice. And you can start to become responsible over your emotions and how you're operating in the world, and let other people be responsible for their emotions and how they're operating in the world. And just take full responsibility. That's how you leave behind the pain, right? Because it's not worth it to hold on and to focus things. Because if you're participating in an energy dynamic like that with somebody, all that's showing is that you're not ready to move forward and you want to be in pain. Now that's okay, but at least be honest that that's happening. When you notice this, that's when things start to become a lot more epic, because now you can, at least if it happens, you're noticing that you're becoming part of the problem. You're not getting sucked into the problem. You're aware that you don't have to get lost in it. Now, the last thing I want to share with you in this video is a pretty interesting way of seeing the world that has allowed me personally to overcome so much past negativity and trauma, or whatever you want to call it, and help me to make it so undeniably clear that the obvious option to take is to let go of the past and to move forward. And I want to make it obvious for you. Because when you make it obvious, it's like, oh yeah, that's obvious. It's the obvious choice. When you look at it like that, it's not hard anymore. It's easy to transform. And this is the message that I want people to know so badly, or not so badly, but it's a message that I've like this has brought me so much peace that I just want people to really understand this, because it's like once you realize that moving forward is so much more obviously going to be in a way easier and less challenging, even though you're going to be in the unknown, that is when transformation happens, because you realize I talk about it all the time. It's the choiceless choice. You can move forward into the unknown and go towards your vision, which is going to be a little bit scary. And I guess you can say that I don't like that word because it makes people think like, oh, it's going to be like there's going to be a lot of resistance, or you can stay in the past. Now, the past is where all the resistance is. Once you see that it's so much more obvious to move forward, then that's how you leave behind the pain of the past. So the last thing that I want to share with you here is to make it so that it's so obvious. Like, however you need to get there, maybe think about what your life would look like if you carry on with the old way. Don't be afraid to look at that. Give yourself a little visualization, because if you see that situation is not going to help you, or maybe even think about this, maybe even explore going back to the old way. And then that sounds ridiculous, but it's like when you can see very clearly that the old way is not working, that is when you're going to move forward. And I just wanted to give you that last message here because I think it's so powerful to get to that point of clarity when you realize that you literally have, like, it's you don't have to move forward, but it's like, what's the alternative? That's when real growth happens. When you're tired of being tired. When you're tired of being in the old way. When you're tired of creating the same experience again and again and again, and even moving forward is less painful, even if there's potential consequences to moving forward. You'll even take that in comparison to reviving the pain of who you used to be. And with that, I conclude this video. Once again, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, the only way to do that right now is by applying or booking in a single session. So if you don't want to work with me, be sure to apply for a single session or book in a single session by hitting the link that's in the description box of this video. It's also going to be in the comments of this video as well. Also, leave a like on this video only if you want to, because I do actually believe that every single person on this planet does deserve to know that they are divine creators of their reality, and that actually they can manifest their reality and do so in the most effortless and easeful way possible, helping themselves and helping others in the process as well. And hitting that like button does help the YouTube algorithm push the videos out to more people, and that would be greatly appreciated. As always, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next